Hello and welcome to the Health Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Holly B. Today, I introduce you to Anna Nieto. Anna is a wellness international certified health coach, a trained nurse, a personal trainer, and a nutrition specialist. She is also an Art of Presence certified teacher, an accredited shamanic practitioner, and the creator of the mindful movement lifestyle. Anna's expertise and passion have led her to help transform hundreds of people all around the world, not only in how they look and feel, but also to transform their bodies, their minds, and their spirits. Anna believes strongly that balanced energy is the key to physical and spiritual success. And she's helped hundreds of people all around the world transform not only how they look and feel, but also to transform their mind, body, and spirit and heal themselves through earth centered practices via movement, dialogue, sound, and creative arts. So, in this conversation with Anna, we touch on some really important points. We talk about how the way you hold on to energy or the way you potentially let your energy dissipate could be at the roots of why you're not seeing the results that you're looking for when it comes to your fitness journey, your health journey, your relationships, your business journey. We talk about how you can protect your energy from leakage and strengthen your relationship with your body through creating more of an awareness of those energetic patterns and how to hold on to and strengthen your energy fields. And we also talk about how putting yourself first is a key to creating strength in your physical body, in your mind, in your spirit. A powerful conversation is coming up for you. Before we dive in, if you could just take a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast, it means the world to me. It helps get my podcast out there further so more ears can listen to these incredible guests that I have on my show. So, anything that you can do to help us promote these messages, I appreciate it so much. Now, let's dive into the episode with Anna. Anna Nieto, welcome to the Health Bridge podcast. I'm really happy we connected, and I'm so happy to share you with my listeners today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Holly. Great to see you.
Absolutely. I love that you have a really neat stance on the three different aspects that we need to take under our consideration and nourish to be whole, happy, joyful, living beings, feeling good in our body. And those three aspects that you highlight are our mind, our body, and the energy that surrounds us. I think people are most used to hearing like mind, body, spirit, things like that. But you call it the energy that surrounds us. So I'd love to start there and have you dive into that and tease that out for us a little bit.
Sure. Yes, I believe that we humans are very fun, interesting, and complicated beings. And that when our body, our mind, and I actually call it our spirit, are in harmony, we're actually our best. But sometimes, probably, you've come across with people that spirit seems to be something very out there, right, for them, or there's some different beliefs or religious, tendencies that actually don't understand what that is per se for you. And that's why I think the energy gives us all a different perspective on what a spirit is, because I believe that energy is very connected with that spiritual piece of us, right? For me, the energy is what is that we create that is beyond us, that is unseen, that is higher than ourselves, that connects us with that part of ourselves that we know is constant and is very different, right? Than the day-to-day ego going, doing, thinking, talking, listening, and trying to just be in a certain way that is a little bit more doer as opposed to most being. That's what I think that energy is. And also, it's a way to radiate your light into the world, as well as protection to yourself. I think we all have this energy that surrounds us that depending on how we are attracting certain things in our life, right? And talking about health, we're going to be attracting certain behaviors that perhaps are not the healthiest for us, right? And in regards to relationships, can be relationships that we don't. And when we work on that energetic field and when we work on our internal energy, is when we actually can send a different signal, can send a different message, and really get the things that are true to our values and what we really want.
So to back up in your story a little bit, how did you come to that understanding? Was it through circumstances that you were experiencing and something finally made you realize
Mhm.
that you
Yes.
were attracting the energies that you didn't want to attract?
Yes, very much indeed. Yeah. Well, my background is more physical. I started actually in Spain, where I'm originally from, and my background is nursing. But then when I moved to New York in my early 20s, I was mostly training people physically and improving their body, physical fitness. And then later on, I started more nutrition and I started more coaching. And it was just in the last decade that it was introduced to this particular practice, which is called the art of presence. And through this practice, starting by myself first, and then now teaching to other people, I realized of some of the defaults that I had energetically and my energy leaks that I like to call, right? Like how I was diffusing my energy and I was not being in my power. In my case, it was a lot about overgiving. I I am a giver in recovery. I like to say it. Nothing wrong with that, but it's really when you are not putting yourself first and taking care of yourself, that you're actually overgiving in a way that is unproductive, right? And you end up being resented and you end up being very tired and not having energy for anybody else. And I learned this the hard way when I was a kid. I have three older brothers, and my mother put me in charge of them. What was she thinking, right? And she was like 10, 7, and 6 years older than me. So I was a little munchkin, and here I was taking care of my brothers. Of course, they were laughing at me, they were ridiculizing me. And what I learned is that if I really wanted to get, especially men's approval, but just everybody approvals, because I was gaining my mother's too, I have to give. And I had to be very attentive to what their needs were. So that's how I grew up in that field of giving and giving and giving and not giving to myself. And it was only when I learned these practices and I realized how much I was draining my energy, how much I was leaking my energy, and how little I was empowering myself, is when I decided that energetically I needed to just fulfill always my gap, always make sure that anything that I was doing, any kind of move, any kind of decision, will impact how I was going to feel later. And for me, it was the last piece of health, because I was already physically very healthy. I was nutritionally very healthy, emotionally, but it was this energetic piece that was lacking at the end of my development or self growth. And now I teach it to other people because I want them to get the same results that I did. It went from being in relationships that were perhaps a little more codependent, that then now realizing by being self within myself and safe, that I could actually create other kinds of relationships that were more safe as well and more trustworthy and more empowering.
Yeah, I think that I've seen that pattern show up for a lot of women in particular, but women who end up developing autoimmune
Mm.
conditions do oftentimes have that people pleasing tendencies, right? The giving, 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 always putting others first, putting themselves second, and not giving themselves the care they need. Eventually, a lot of times that can result in autoimmune conditions and these chronic health issues. You're very tuned into the strength of the physical body. I'd love for you to speak to how those 2 tie in together, how putting ourselves first and honoring our own spirit, our own energy, and not closing those energy leakages, how that ties into also creating a strong physical body as well.
Yeah. And coming back to the body, mind, spirit connection, like I don't think you can separate them, right? There's always that intermix of those together. So another one of the sayings that I always say is that the stronger you connect with your body, the stronger you connect with the spirit, with your spirit. So I'm a firm believer that the more that you can actually fine tune that connection within yourself by healthy, mindful exercise, you will actually be more connected to the power within you as well, which is that energy, which is that spiritual peace, right? So in my practice, what I've learned for many years, I was very blessed that I found this technique when I first moved to New York in my early 20s. And I started training at this little studio in Midtown Manhattan for, it was only like 30 minutes once a week. I was working very intensely. And after like 3 months or so of this sort of periodical 30-minute, once a week, work intensely, I went to buy clothes and I realized that I have lost one size. So I was an 8 before, and then I realized, wow, I was an 6. And I have not made any changes on my diet. At the same time, my father and my mother was coming to visit me, and my mother was wondering, what have I done that my posture have improved so much? Because being one of the tallest girls in Spain, I was always slouching. And it was a very big reason to be bullied. So many times I got comments on how big I was. One day, this very mean boy told me, you don't have shoes, you have boats. Experiences like this, as funny as they can be now, at that point, they were making me hide my body. And what I was told at that time, my big feet as well. And then what also happens is that for the first time, I was able to beat my dad at tennis. And we were playing since I was 7. And he didn't like it, but I did. So in only 3 months of 30 minutes a week workouts, I had lost size, right? Lost fat. I had improved my posture dramatically, and I had also improved my athletic performance. I just felt like Wonder Woman. Like I thought that no one was ever going to bully me again, right? It was that inner sense of power and strength that actually transformed over the years into really creating something that it was beyond what just I feel like when you are very connected with yourself, when you feel confidence in your body, when you feel strong, when you feel that you look good, right? That's important as well because we don't want to look good into the world. We don't want to look in a way that we don't feel people wanna appreciate us. It just brings other things into our awareness that go beyond the physical. And that's why I connect those two, because I feel it's so important, right? And then just to kind of wrap everything up, when you bring the mindset to the picture, and you know this very well, because I know that you are really good and specialize a lot on mindset. If we don't have a way to, I like to say, master our thoughts, right? And we let them run the stories that they want to without us having any saying on that, then we also are not going to be at our best selves. So that's how I tied it up. And that's how I work with people as well. And sometimes people will come from the body, sometimes people will come from the mind, sometimes will come from the spirit directly. But in my experience, getting connected with your body is stronger, brings about a lot more than just trying to do everything at the same time. So if you can connect with your body, I feel like the wisdom is in our bodies, our thoughts generate in our body and our feelings. And from that perspective, we can change our stories. We can create the new healthy being that we want to, or we want to change things, or we want to improve our health, right? For anti-immune disease or anything else that is affecting us. The body has that wisdom. The body, I think, is always the first place to go to get that knowledge.
We have that inner wisdom. It's just, are we connecting to it, right?
Yeah.
So, how does somebody that wants to start this journey, that knows they're not maybe super confident in how they look or feel in their body, and they want to start doing some movement, they want to start bringing in some physical strength, how do you tie the two? Like, where does somebody start? Are they starting with just the physical? Are they starting with the physical and mindset stuff at the same time? How do you like to approach that with your clients?
Sure. Yes. So what I typically do is, depending on the person, right? Everybody's a little bit different. But if there's the need from physical fitness somehow, if they feel out of shape, or if they feel like they are starting to feel body pain, right? As we age, if we don't keep our body healthy, it cannot withstand just regular activities. So if that's something that they are talking about and they are complaining, if there are some health issues, I always recommend physical exercise if they are not engaged already. And the method that I practice is mindful movement. So it's moving very slowly without actually taking your muscles to rest. It's continuous. So it's a strength training, yoga style, and Pilates inspire. So it's a little bit of a combination of all the techniques that I've learned and experienced for many years. And I've created different exercises that through a 45-minute workout, my workouts are online, you can actually work every single body muscle and start to feel the wonderful benefits of exercise. As you know, it's not just physical, but we also segregate these amazing hormones and substances that makes us feel happier and makes us feel this natural high, right? There's also a study recently that actually there's other substances that are segregated, are called myokines during exercise, that helps with health conditions. So there's actually more than just the mood. There's actually more just the physical. So that's why I feel like starting with the body is always going to start generating in our system different tunnels of enjoyment, and also of leading you towards the place that you are wanting to go. If it's fixing your health, if it is being in better shape, if it is being more happy about the way that you look. That is something that I always like to start with, if the person has the wish. The other part that I usually address is I meet with the person for 2 hours during the first month that we are engaged, and I do a pretty thorough discovery session. So we go through, I use the wheel of life for this, and we look at every single aspect, because I believe that if we are not paying attention to all different aspects of their life, the exercise alone is not going to give them the results that they want, right? So we look at what is going on with their environment, what is going on with their finances, what is going on with their career, what is going on with their relationships, and then assessing and addressing and creating a plan for them, little steps forward that they can take in order to get the results that they are looking for. And then if there's some pieces that are more energy based, I will address that with some practices. So I've been trained to be able to help people clean their energies, sometimes cut cords, if you're familiar with that concept, right? When we are very attached to things that no longer serve us, can help. Soul retrieval is this trauma. I've been working with some somatic experiences and practices that I can also help them go a little bit deeper there and release what it is that is holding them hostage in that case. So it kind of is very customized, in the way that this approach is when I work with people one-on-one. I do also have group classes that people come in, daily group classes that they can just join. And I also hold circles monthly and facilitate retreats in person. All this work is done in a very incubator way during those retreats where, the transformations, as you probably know from retreat work or attending, are really amazing. When people experience these retreats in a very short period of time, they leave with just some new awareness, some big breakthrough that through the period of weeks after and the months after they can integrate. And it's life changing in many, many cases. That's typically how I work with people.
Well, you said something really important, which was somebody comes to you with like, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to gain more muscle. And you said the exercise alone won't give them the results that they're looking for. And I think that's something I really want to drive home with our listeners, because I think that that's been all that can apply to all aspects of our life, right? Like it could even apply to I have this autoimmune condition, or I have this some situation in my life. I want to fix that situation. If it's autoimmune, we go to the doctor or we go to the naturopath, and we're like on the supplements, we're changing our nutrition, we're doing these things. But if we're just looking at it with a laser focus and not taking a wider lens view, like a higher level view of like what's happening in the rest of our lives, because taking those supplements is going to help. But if we're not addressing these other things that are kind of on the outlines,
Yeah.
it's only going to do so much. If we're not addressing mindset, if we're not addressing our spiritual connection, if we're not addressing the relationships in our life, chances are some of those things are what's triggering that acute thing that you're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. And it's such an important point that you are making. And I learned that the hard way, right? Because I was telling you before, when my work was only physical, I was helping people be in shape and change their body and build muscle. And that was all great and beautiful. And I was also seeing some people that were not really moving in the place that they wanted to go fully. And there was still a lot of fat retention that they could not relieve, no matter what we did. Like we could exercise, we could diet, but it just really didn't happen. So as you know, because you came to speak at my last program that I did, my quantum program, which is the cleanse that I facilitate a couple of times a year, we don't only look at the food, but we look at also what else is going on that is holding your body, that is making you retain, the excess fat that you want to lose, or that is making you feel lack of sleep. That's another important piece, right? A lot of people suffer from not being able to sleep. Usually there's something then that you want to look at that is either energetic or is mindset, right? So yeah, for me, looking at the person as a whole and figuring it out is very important. And what are the things that you have to let go in order to really change your body in the ones that you want to? And I see this all the time working with clients. I'm just thinking of one that I just started working. She's done 6 sessions. And then we did the discovery session for 2 hours. And her body's already starting to feel it, actually. But the most important piece is that she's starting to say no to relationships that she knew were triggering her. And she's starting to clear space in her house with a lot of stuff that she had that no longer serve her. So this is why I love to do this deeper work. This is why I love to get to that core of what is it in the core, right? It's never about just building muscle. It's never just about feeling fit. It's most of the time about some of the things that we want to accomplish in our life. What is the real why of why you want to be healthy? What is the real why of why you want to get in shape? If we dig deeper, we can find so much more. And I believe that on my work, I can help people so much more when we go there. So it's really finding what is for that particular person that is going to move them in that direction.
Yeah, finding the why. Like we have so many surface whys that
Yeah.
sometimes we forget to look down and see like, but what's underneath that? Okay, but what's underneath that? But the surface why is, well, I just want to feel more comfortable in my clothing, or I just want to lose one size and I'll be good. Okay, well, why do you want to lose that one size? Well, it'll make me feel better in my body. Okay, well, what's underneath that? Okay, now what's underneath that?
Mhm.
Like we all have these deeper whys. Sometimes they're a little scary to look at. They're a little scary to hone in on because if you hone in on them, what does that mean for the
Mhm.
rest of your life? What are you going to need to change to really address that?
And then coming back, this is a great point because coming back to the energy work we were talking about before, as you were speaking, you were making me think of people that I've worked with and clients. I'm thinking of a particular person that is a comedian, and she started working with me because she actually wanted to feel more confident on the stage. So when we uncovered that, right, like, yes, I want to feel fitter, I want to lose fat, but the main why is that I want to feel more confident, and I don't feel that unless we did that energy work of like really connected with what does it mean for you to be confident? What can you do to feel fully confident? It didn't really happen. Yes, the exercise helped, the losing fat helped. And it was just uncovering that, going deep within and like why I cannot feel confident, what happened. And sometimes it's things that has happened in our childhood, right? As we expressed before, or trauma that we've had in adulthood that have been stuck in our body. When you can let go of that and actually connect with that confidence or whatever it is for each person, in some cases it's shame, in some cases it's guilt, right? And we can let go of that and make peace with it is when we actually can achieve a really big transformation, not just in our body, but in our minds and in our spirits.
It's a letting go of that tension that we didn't even know we were holding on to from who knows how many years ago, right? When we
Yeah.
can release that tension, it's like letting taking the cloak off,
Yeah.
and now we can shine brighter as our true energetic selves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is actually a practice that I teach when you're talking about the light, is the light globe. So it's not too different than the aura, right? It's that light around you that is on the front, on the sides, on the back, underneath you, and the top. And what I usually say is that on that light globe can be like black spots that you want to just clean, right, with the Windex and that, so your light can be brighter and can be shiner. And this light globe is also a layer of protection, as we were talking about before, right, of protecting yourself from creating boundaries, protecting yourself from energies that you don't want to be serving anymore, and even people, right, that can affect in a certain way. So yeah, it's that light that radiates out of ourselves and that we bring to any activity that we do, anything that we do in the world.
I call it bubbling up. Like,
There
put
you
up your bubble,
Yeah.
visualize
Yes.
whatever color. I usually use gold. Could be a white light, it could be pink. It depends on what energetic space you want to be in. But bubbling up, just visualizing that you have this protective bubble of light around you. It
Yeah.
helps keep the negative energies from attaching to your core. And it also helps to promote your light just shining and glowing. So that's one thing I
I
like to do.
talk about the same things. That's funny, Holly, and with different words, right? And I'll share one more thing because I think this is also an important piece of the energy work. And the other thing that I usually talk to people about in my circles, retreats, private work, is about what the vertical core is. And these are practices from the art of presence that I was mentioning before. We have 44 practices. And this one, the vertical core, is as you go deep within your body, and meditation state, you can practice this, connecting with your womb space, your lower abdomen, which is a center of energy, usually the center of intuition, where we store energy. In some traditions, it's called dantian or hara. So as you're meditating, you connect with that center of energy. Then you connect with your heart center, which is another center of power, of compassion, of love. And then you connect with the back of your head, which is another place where we receive messages, right? They call it the alma ata back there. They call it the door of God. So then connecting those 3 points, your lower abdomen, your chest center, and your head center. And just imagining a ray of light going up and down through that vertical core, and can be in any color that you want. So that is like the inside of the light bulb, right? And the stronger you can connect with that vertical core, the stronger your light is going to be radiating into the wall. So it's another practice of how can you connect within, connect with your energy, connect with your power, and that light will radiate even stronger when that is happening. It's a very simple practice that anybody can really think of doing when you're closing your eyes and in meditation, but you can also do it as you're interacting with people. You can also keep feeling yourself at the same time that you're talking or you are helping or you're giving, right? And then there's another important piece that is coming that I feel like I need to share. It's about that receptive piece that we were talking about before, right? How we are in giving mode, and especially women, we grow up to usually give to others, and that's our default. And opening that receptive muscle, and that's another muscle that I help clients train apart from their body muscles. It's like, how can you be more in receptive mode? How can you connect more with that part of yourself that is in receiving always, to let in all the things that want into your life, right? And it's just about being aware of it. It is about being more in the back of your body. It is about creating that vertical core, that light globe, and some other things. But those are kind of the basics of how you can be in a much more energetic presence space, right? That's how I will call it.
I think that two key points, that learning to be open to receiving
Hmm.
is huge, because we can want and desire all these things, but if we're energetically closed off to receiving those things, we're
Hmm.
blocking it from coming in,
Right.
right? So learning how to open to receive is huge. And then another thing that you mentioned was we can still be tuning in to ourselves, connecting those 3 points you were talking about while interacting with others. We don't have to only do this in a close-eyed meditation, that's important too. But we can also bring in these practices while we're interacting with others, like the bubbling up idea. I especially utilize that when I'm in groups or crowds to protect my space.
Yeah.
It gives me power in that, and I can be aware that I'm bubbling up while I am having a conversation with the person next to me.
Yeah.
And then I can also have that as a powerful meditation when I have space by myself where I can really tune in. They're two levels of the same, they're two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it's important to know what your default is. So in this art of presence that I was mentioning, we talk about three different ways of being and how you use your energy. And one can be a spiller, which is somebody that just energetically is throwing energy all the time, right? We know this spillers. The diffuser is when you're actually not realizing, but you have those energy leaks that just go and leave you, right? It's very subtle. And then the shrinkers are the people that just put themselves in a little bit of a corner because they are scared of connecting with others. So knowing that and understanding what is your default energetically, then you can shift it, you can change it. And from being a spiller, you can be more contained. From being a diffuser, you can also be more contained. And when you are somebody that is a shrinker, you can open yourself more to receiving energies. So that's something also that just having the awareness to it is very important. And something that you said about receiving and the vertical core and connecting again energy with body awareness. The stronger again you are in your body, the more connection you have with your muscles, the more connected you are with these energy centers as well, right? And the mindful movement that I do, I'm always, every single exercise, telling people to connect with the part of their body that they are working. I'm a firm believer that if you connect your mind with your body and your muscles in this case, you're going to get the best results. But also when you are connecting deep within in meditation and just, again, talking to somebody, you can still be connecting with yourself as you're interacting with others. And yeah, crowds are a perfect example. I remember when I was not aware of all of this, I'm a diffuser. So I would just like just leave energy, to everybody. That's why I will come back home and I was like drained. Like, what happened to me? Just spent 2 hours in a networking event and I just don't have any energy left. And then when I realized that, now when I go into a networking event and I know my default, I go very strongly energetically and very contained. Not that I'm not open to give and receive, but I know how to preserve that energy. I can be interacting with people and still get home and feel actually more abundant and feel more expanded than I did when I left. It was a big shift for me that I know can transform your life, when you're going about like this in any situation.
So how do you well, two questions. First one is, how do you prepare yourself knowing you're the diffuser to go in strong and containing yourself? How do you prepare for that ahead of time?
Mhm.
And then you were also talking about when you're working out and you want to concentrate on a particular area, maybe it's your core, and you want to strengthen that. You said to mentally tune into that area while you're working out.
Yeah.
So many people, myself included, are listening to a podcast or music or something while they're doing these workouts. I'm curious your thoughts on how that affects the workout and
For
how
sure.
that works in the body.
Great two questions that I love to talk about. So I always tell people when I start working with them that the default in the fitness industry is for people to go to a gym and look at the TVs, look at other people, and not be outside, right? Be outside of themselves. And what I always do during my sessions is to get people inside their body and connecting with themselves. There's actually a scientific name for that, which is called neuromuscular connection. So this is how your brain connects with your muscles. And you might notice that perhaps in your body, there are some parts of your body when you exercise that you can feel. And there are some parts of your body that you have a harder time connecting with, right? So the more that you exercise that muscle of sending the message from your brain to that muscle in particular that you are exercising, that you want to connect the two of them, the more that you're going to feel that happening eventually. So for example, when I started training, I could not feel my chest on a chest press. Like I had no connection with my chest muscles. I could feel others, but I couldn't feel this. And one day I remember I was like doing a chest press exercise and I was like, oh, I can feel it now. And it took me a while, but it was just by exercising that neuromuscular connection of sending, okay, let me send the message there. So it's something that can be improved in anybody. And just by creating and wanting to create these connections, your body will do it. Your body will create them if they are not there. And then the other piece, so important, how do I prepare? Well, as I was telling you, this Art of Presence has 44 practices. Depending on how I'm feeling and what I'm needing, I'm going to be doing one practice or the other. There's one particular meditation in movement that I love doing because it actually builds up the energy inside your body and it keeps it on your lower abdomen. For me, it's a lot about storing energy, right? And what I've learned, and this happened last night, like last night I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed about my day today because I was busy and I had a gathering with friends at my house. And I was thinking, oh boy, I'm feeling a little depleted and I have a really busy day. What can I do? I took an Epsom salt bath because I know my salt baths are very good to just relieve energies. But then what I also did is that this morning I got up a little bit earlier and I did some breath work. So I did some Kundalini breath work to just raise my energy. So every time can be different. But what I've learned and what I'm very committed to myself at this time in my life is that I am not going to go into my workday or into an event or into anything really when I am not feeling at my best. And sometimes you can feel a little wobbly, right? But if I need to self-care and if I need to take care of myself, there's something that I can do, even if it's just a 5-minute meditation practice, even if it's just a practice to be open to receive, even if it's just a little bit of breath work, a bath, wherever it is that at that moment is calling me to do, I would. Because as we were talking about before, if your light is being blur, right? You are not going to really be at your best to be out there and give your energy out into the wall. And I believe that it's not really our actions, it's really the energy that we put into our wall that is going to make a difference, right? For others and for ourselves. So yeah, very committed to that these days, very committed to just always noticing in my body. What is the wisdom of my body, as we were talking about before, telling me? What is it that I need? The thought will come up of what I need, and typically it does. And then I will take a step on doing that, as opposed to just continue going on the roller coaster of life without any consciousness or awareness, which I did for years, and or numbing myself like I used to do, also drinking or doing other things. Now it's like, okay, let's listen to that. What is the need? Let's take action, and then let's move on with the next thing. So, yeah, great question. And I think just if there's one thing of everything that I just said, is just always listen to your body, right? And what is telling you that you need at each moment, especially when you're not feeling at your best. Do you need rest? What do you need?
And that will take time to develop, I think, that intuition within your body. But just starting by asking that question, what do I need right now?
Exactly. It's just what am I feeling? And given how I'm feeling, what is it that I need? It's that simple. And you're absolutely right. This doesn't happen overnight, right? And again, depending on your default, you're going to have to go in one direction or another. Some people are more about not doing and blocking themselves when they're in these states, right? And in that case, I think the default is, or the best way to approach it would be to take action and do something. And for some people, it's the overdoing and not resting and not taking care of themselves. And in that case, is to actually rest. So, yeah, it does take a little practice and a little time, but just that question of how am I feeling? What does my body need? What do I need? Is so important and so required.
So also maybe incorporating being curious. Okay, like in the beginning, your subconscious is going to want to default you to its programming,
Right.
right? So, like you said, when you're somebody who tends to not take action, maybe what you need right now is to take action, but your subconscious is going to be like, no, just sit there on the couch and watch
So,
another TV show. So, just creating that awareness by asking the questions and then, okay, is that really what I need or is that just what I default to?
Mhm.
And
Good.
maybe even just starting from there
Yeah.
to create that curiosity and awareness.
I always say awareness is the first step, right? Like if you are aware of what you do, then you can be able to change it. It might not happen right away, but at least you have that wanting. And yeah, the mindset is always as so important to what are your thoughts telling you that they want to do. And well, maybe this time I'm gonna question that. I know you're saying that, but is it really what I need at this moment? Because it hasn't worked in the past, right? So let me do something different perhaps and see if this is better. So yeah, the mind is always a very interesting, useful, but sometimes we have to question it and not believe everything that it's telling us, right?
Exactly. So this has been an incredible conversation, Anna. Is there anything that you want to leave with our listeners that we haven't touched on yet, or something you just want to really hit home with?
Yeah, I think if I want to live with something else, is something that has been very relevant for me lately. If somebody that is listening is looking for anything that we've talked about here, if it's getting in shape, if it's losing fat, if it's something deeper than some of the subjects that we've been talking about, right? About something that is over giving and is taking you away from who you really are. What I would suggest is to really trust on yourself that you can heal yourself, and also trust in somebody that perhaps can help you through that process, because we all need help. I have my own mentors and coaches and healers that I work with, and I'm sure you do too, and you are excellent at this work. So trusting yourself for healing, I think, is the first step. And then if you feel like there's something there that can help you with what you're struggling with, to reach out and at least have a conversation and just see what next step you can take. When I meet with people for the first time, that's what I do. We figure out what is the main struggle they're dealing with. At least I give them a tip that they can move forward with, and then we decide if we're a good fit to work together or not. But that trust that you are able and capable to do it, I think, is one of the main things that I can leave anybody with at the beginning of the processes.
I 100% agree with you on that, and definitely mirror that we all need help. We all need help. I don't care who you are, how successful you are, we all need help. I've certainly known that for myself. I have coaches, I have healers. I'm well aware that I can help somebody else when they're sick, for example. I have no idea what to do for myself when I find myself sick. I need to call on my healing friends to tell me what to do because I can't think through the process when I'm in the middle of it. So we all
A
need help.
100%. There are times that I can do it, and there are times that it's like, nope, I need someone. Let me go, right? And I'm very blessed to have people that I work constantly with, and that I can reach to. And I see you do too, and we understand the power of it.
Absolutely. Well, Anna, thank you so much for such a great conversation. Where can everybody find you?
Well, that's a wonderful question. So they can find me on my website, which is Mindful Online Gym for training. And then there's a link there also to my lifestyle website, which is Mindful Movement Lifestyle with dashes between the words. And I'm also on Instagram as Mindful Movement Lifestyle, and Facebook and YouTube. And also, if anybody wants to continue the conversation and they just want to email me, my email is anna@mindfulonlinegym.com. So I would love to talk about any of these subjects if there's any questions or things that I can support you with. Thank you very much for having
Perfect.
a wonderful conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna. So many great key points in that conversation with Anna. So, one thing that I really want to circle back to is just that practice of awareness. Until you can become aware of your pre programmed subconscious patterns that are running the show 95% of every single day, you can't shift them. So, when you identify a situation in your life that you're not happy with, that you're uncomfortable with, that seems to show up time and time again in your life, start to bring awareness to that. Once you recognize that it's happening, then you can start to shift your thoughts around it. Then you can start to shift and feel what your energy is when you find yourself in one of those situations. That'll be your clue that something is off. Start questioning it. Why do I feel uncomfortable here? What is it that I don't like about the situation? What would I like to have happen instead? How would I like to feel instead? And then we can start making these subtle energetic shifts, subtle thought shifts to change your experience and to rewire that subconscious programming into a more ideal result, right? A more ideal situation for you. So don't be afraid to question. Don't be afraid to get down to the underlying reasoning or the underlying reasons of why you want something to shift. Okay, so you're not happy here. Why do you want it to shift? Why do you want that desired result? Let's get down to the bottom of those things because once you realize the real why, it's so much easier to be dedicated to changing those patterns. Please reach out to Anna to ask her more about what she does and ask her questions about all the things that we talked about on this episode. Reach out to me. I am available for a clarity call for free. We can dive into this topic as well. And let's see if we can figure out where you're stuck and why and give you some actionable tips that you can start with right away, whether we decide to work together or not. So I hope that you got a lot out of this episode. I hope you take this into your day and can just start to incorporate some of the things that we talked about right away. And I look forward to seeing you next time on the Health Bridge podcast.